Hi all, Steve Cady here with our ORGD 6060 in the spring of 2016, and I'm giving some additional feedback regarding the roadmap proposals for the change initiatives with our live client simulation. We've had a in-person, or not in-person, a live session with the client with feedback from the client and myself, and a discussion following that regarding the proposals. We then had a second session during the past week with those that could make it, and that was recorded, and we discussed a variety of items related to the proposals and the personal OD&C methods. And I also completed the grade rubrics and have posted that, and with some feedback there. I talked with the client players and discussed it yesterday a little bit more, and we used some of that, or I will use or provide some of that feedback from them, in addition to just summarizing some of the things we've already discussed. Many people, the teams, when we checked in earlier later this past week, the team representatives or members mentioned that they felt like everybody was on track and knew what they needed to be focusing on. So this is hopefully a little bit more, maybe a little bit of encouragement, and I just wanted you all to know you can contact me individually if you'd like. I'm always available to help you individually or collectively on your team, so let me know if I can be helpful. So the focus again here is on engaging whole systems for change, our 6060 class, on the team change roadmap proposal. It's the draft proposal, and now many of you are moving into the right now, from what I understand, a lot of you are just cleaning up and formalizing or finalizing your proposals to be submitted to the client. And with that, the grade rubric looks at complete and professional and thoughtful. And in general, when we look at the outline, the first thing I'm interested in from the proposal outline is it's a very quick check off, check, are all these things addressed? And that's what I get at with complete. Sometimes I look at inside each of these, and like if one sentence was given to something, I'd say that wasn't complete. But generally, I'm looking at, is it complete? And then the level of depth you go into and articulating and explaining it, that goes into the thoughtful, which gets at the 3 V's: a good definition and descriptions, good use of visuals, and good use of examples or bringing it to life for the reader. So that's where the complete and the thoughtful come. Professional is directly related to the presentation of the material, the content, the writing, grammar, and those kinds of things. So that rubric is provided with the assignment. You all have that, and we've discussed it. So complete, professional, and thoughtful. So as I go through this outline, I'll be looking to see first that everything is in place. That's complete. I will then look at the writing and the explanation and layout and formatting and those kinds of things. That gets at the professional. And then the last but not least, again, the thoughtful in terms of elaboration, use of the 3 V's. In the final version, 2 additional items will be added in the rubric, and we discussed this on Thursday night. So I posted that recording from our progress check-in session, and in that I talked about, and I also talked about this in class, it's also provided with the assignment, that there are 2 additional areas in the rubric that are not applied to the draft, but are applied to the final, and that is mastery and outstanding. And so you can look at that and see how that is done. But essentially, mastery is getting at how well are you drawing from key concepts and learnings and so forth, and can I see that you're using the evidence and the resources and the things provided in your proposal. And so I'm seeing that you're applying concepts properly or applying concepts and utilizing the learning from the class and the resources and things from OD and the program. So that's mastery. And then the outstanding piece really gets at, it's going to focus on how well you do on connecting to the client and addressing the client's issue. And I can't tell you or emphasize enough that really listening to the client is what is a core element of outstanding, and getting that client to feel heard, and then matching up their purpose and outcomes here directly to your options. And there's 2 types of outcomes. There's outcomes in terms of what they need to accomplish as you think about it, and then there's outcomes related to how they will evaluate the proposals maybe around price and around relationship and fit and those and do they feel listened to? Now, purpose and outcomes, if they're done well, they'll feel listened to and heard. So those are the things. And the big thing that they emphasize, as we know from the session, was was the idea of the union and management and how to address that and how to facilitate that representation and that collaboration. So with that, let me jump into the three proposals and just talk a little bit about things that I like in them, maybe a couple suggestions, and then I'll wrap up. This is not a quick video, but it's just a quick, it's not a long video, it's a quick video, and then you feel free to always ask me questions if you have any. So I'll begin by, we'll start with Team A, Inspire. And I think getting out of the gates on a good foot with them, Inspire did a nice job on really ensuring that they felt heard and listened to. When I jump into the front here, I think this presentation of the proposal is professional. It already begins that way. You've got a nice letter that lays things out here. And I think putting this stuff collateral, putting this kind of collateral up front and setting it in it saves people time because they got it in one spot. And the executive summary, sometimes an executive summary, I think this is a fine executive summary. I'd say sometimes an executive summary is done well as bullets and quick snippets, so a person can do a quick scan, capture the essence, and then they read more about them. The elaboration of the bullets and everything happen in the core of the content. Nice outline here. When I see this, it's just helping me compare up and see that you're addressing all the elements in complete. So this helps me to see that in a short snippet. And then you've gone through. Just a quick side note, I asked all the groups, please use single spacing and use formatting. Look at a good textbook or other types of formats for white papers, and use single spacing, lay stuff out, make it easy to read on the screen, make it less paper that has to be printed, and those kinds of things. I don't need double spaced, and I would really like it to be single spaced and kind of laid out in that book chapter, textbook chapter, or that kind of white paper kind of format or proposal format. So with that, I think a few things for this team, and I'm going to go back to my notes. Let me pull up my notes here. Where are my notes? Okay, here we go. I won't elaborate on the notes because the notes are in the grade rubric I provided for you. I think so. What I'll do is I'll let you go back and take a look at those things. The one thing I wanted to emphasize here that I thought was, I think, for all the groups to think about is, and I'm going to be jumping around a little bit here. So if you go to the end here, the one point I'd like to spend a little time on is how do you address limitations and strengths? And I think you can take a very creative approach to this. You all can think about, how do you take a potential limitation, not a limitation of what you all can do, but it might be, if you think about the firm lines, guidelines, and hard lines, or firm lines, guidelines, and no lines, it might be a limitation on the constraints or the logistics. It might be fee limitations. It might be time limitations. It might be access limitations. There might be certain things. And you might look at what is the real crux of the situation that's going on with them, and can you look at that as a limitation, i.e. the union management stuff, and can you think about how do you turn that into a potential strength, the strength that you all have matched up to this limitation, which is a weakness that they have, that could cause a problem in the proposal. So think about that, and how might you, when you talk about strengths and limitations of your proposal, really trying to bring out the certain aspects that need to be thoughtfully considered in order for the proposal that if they select you all, to be successful. And you've got to consider these three things, which may directly relate to the options, which may directly relate to what you recommend. So if you make that connection and walk them through that in an organized fashion, I think that will really be a strength for the proposal. I'm looking here. Let's see. And I think the use of themes is really creative. In a lot of ways, a lot of the teams were using different themes, and I like that. I think a theme that is related to the issue and related to the industry helps them feel like you are in that industry. So I think that was done well. I'm just kind of going through and looking, seeing something else. I really like laying out a chart that the detail. I think that helps them to really see what is happening. Sometimes they want to know how much time in each one. I think you outlined that as well in another place. I thought the use of these images was useful and a little. It wasn't as professionally presented or laid out, and I don't think it's a huge issue. But I just recommend you think about how you're using these metaphorical images or these pictures and photos and laying them out in just a little bit of a different format that lends itself to that professional, if you, for lack of a better word, that professional white paper or textbook presentation. And I think your use of visuals was strategic and helpful and so forth. So with the Team B, and out of the box, I love this cover page. I think the logo, I think the general presentation here is super. I think this, when I look, and I did in my work, I've done a lot of study of cover pages to find out and looking at what people like in terms of fonts and even the science behind font choice and its effect on the reader when it's online versus printed and colors. And you got to think about all those things, particularly if you're printing something like a whole page that's like a dark color and that you print on the printer, it prints on the paper funny and it also takes a lot of ink. So, but I like this. And I think you keep this to a minimum so that front page is good. And yes, it is a lot of color on here. It's just being mindful that I thought overall how this was laid out looked nice. And that's a small thing, but I like it. I like the description, the attention to detail around the table of contents, which helps me. And let's see here. It's just well organized and try to see here. I think overall this is strong. It's just about I think you addressed all the key issues. I'm looking here. There was something that was missing, and I think it had something to do around the limitations piece. I gotta go back down here and take a look real quick. Let's see here. Yeah, it's the kind of the concluding. Yeah, the concluding pieces here. Let me just take a look. Yeah, the concluding pieces needed to be addressed here on this one. But otherwise, I think overall that it was you addressed all the key pieces in the outline. Professionally, I like this spacing on the sentence structure. I think it just makes it a lot more friendly. You'll notice that sometimes the spacing was different on sentences in some paragraphs and others, and it's just paying attention to some of the writing and some of that stuff. And then under thoughtful, I think you did a really great job of explaining the logic behind all your decisions and options. I thought that was done really, really well. And I think your biggest challenge is going to be to help convince them that you really hear them around the union management issue and articulating the nuances of that in terms of the outcomes and what you want to see. What will help them really feel like you got a solution that's going to help address that. That just kept coming up and coming up, and even came up and as they further talked about it. And then so again, really nice work on this. I thought you laid things out well, and I'm looking down here. Yeah. I think the fee structure might need a little bit. You might need to be prepared to answer a little bit more on the fee structure, and obviously you got the feedback that they gave you as well around what some of their questions were and so forth. Then on Group C, love the acronym DRIVE. I thought that was super. I think I really appreciate the idea of a discussion document that I mentioned before. And I think just, again, single space, blah, 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 that kind of stuff, laying it out. I think the back end, the front end had a lot of nice explanation around DRIVE. I'm getting very clear about purpose and outcomes. So you get into the presenting need, the proposal deliverables. Let me see. I just want to see here the purpose and outcomes. You're doing a nice job. This is where they really will feel heard, and then and so forth. I think. Again, there was some, the formatting, laying stuff out, keeping consistent with headers and subheaders and how you use them so a person knows. I think this is one thing that's important across all of the proposals is it use a header subheader structure that's very apparent that a person's in a main section, a subsection, or a sub-subsection. I think, and keeping that consistent is really helpful. And I'm not getting into, as you know, you can see I'm talking about the complete professional and thoughtful. The mastery piece around using the concepts, that really got into listening, developing strong purpose and outcomes, connecting that in, which I talked about earlier, which is really important. That comes at this final proposal phase. What I was looking for here is really, did you address all the key pieces? Did you write it grammatically and professionally and so forth laid out? And did you elaborate on things? And I think overall you all are on a very good start and have a solid set of proposals. And I guess that's it. I think with this one, the one piece is really just looking at some of the writing and some of the spelling and some of the use of fonts and some of those things, some of the editing types of things in here. So I hope this is helpful. And I am available. Again, I'm just kind of looking across the screens at different stuff. So forgive me here for just a second here as I look at all this stuff. I think there was something else. I think I'd finish by saying in this one here in Drive, I think you all really put a lot of effort in your thinking to providing a customized solution. It's almost like your model. You know, it's interesting. You develop this for them, which is great, and it matches to their industry. And you do put a lot of thought into that, and I thought that was super. And I think you got to, you really were identifying some of the key issues in the problem or the needs that they have. And so I think it's a real strength. I think building out the end part of it will be really important. And again, overall, for all of you, I thought you did a super job as a first start draft. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have. I'm available all weekend. If you need me, just feel free to give me a call, text me, whatever. I'll be glad to chat with you. I'll be even glad to look at stuff if you want. So whatever you need, let me know. I'm here to help you, and talk to you soon. Keep up the good work, everybody.